This video explores a speculative scenario where Cleopatra forges an empire with Rome, examining its cultural and historical impact. Chapter 1. Dawn of the Triumvirate. In the annals of history, the year 30 BC marked not the fall of the last pharaoh of Egypt, but the rise of a new epoch. The fabled Queen Cleopatra VII, with her unmatched wit and charm, had successfully woven her destiny with that of Rome, the world's mightiest republic. Her alliances, first with Julius Caesar and then with Mark Antony, had been fraught with love and war, but through a tapestry of political maneuvering and strategic brilliance, she had emerged not as a mere footnote in the chronicles of the Roman Empire, but as a co-author of a new narrative. The death of Caesar had been a turning point. Instead of succumbing to grief or fleeing from the wrath of Caesar's assassins, Cleopatra had doubled down on her gamble for power. She reached out to Mark Antony, Caesar's trusted general and one part of the Second Triumvirate ruling Rome in the chaotic aftermath of the Ides of March. With Antony, she found not just a lover but a partner in ambition. Together, they envisioned a world where Rome did not conquer Egypt, but rather, the two great civilizations stood side by side, united in a triumvirate of their own making. The Senate in Rome, initially skeptical, grew to accept this new power structure as it brought stability and wealth. Egypt's grain fed Rome's legions and populace, while Roman military prowess protected the Nile's bounty. The cultural exchange was profound. Hellenistic knowledge blended with Roman law and engineering, while Egyptian mysticism and artistry infused the West with new vibrancy. Cleopatra, Antony, and Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, and the third member of the Roman triumvirate, found an uneasy balance of power. Cleopatra bore Antony children, further cementing their alliance, and through shrewd diplomacy, she ensured that Octavian's ambitions were satisfied with conquests in other directions. The Mediterranean was no longer a Roman lake. It was a mirror reflecting the glory of the Greco-Roman-Egyptian Empire. The capital of this empire was not Rome, nor Alexandria, but a new city that drew from both, Nea Roma-Alexandria. Situated at the crossroads of two continents, it was a metropolis of marble and sandstone, where the Senate convened beneath obelisks inscribed with Latin and hieroglyphics. The city was a testament to the empire's unity, a place where togas were adorned with the golden jewelry of the Nile and chariots raced in the shadow of the great library. The military implications were staggering. Roman legions, now bolstered by Egyptian charioteers and archers, were an indomitable force. The empire's borders expanded, not through the brute force of conquest alone, but through the allure of its shared culture and prosperity. The Pax Romana Egyptia was a time of unprecedented peace and wealth, as the empire's enemies either fell before its armies or joined it in alliance, eager to partake in the stability it offered. In this world, Cleopatra was not the last pharaoh of Egypt, but the first empress of a new dominion that straddled east and west. Her intelligence and charisma had rewritten the fate of nations, and her legacy was not one of tragic love, but of enduring power. The dawn of the triumvirate was not merely a chapter in history. It was the beginning of a saga that would shape the ancient world for centuries to come. Chapter 2. The Pantheon of the People. In the heart of Nea Roma-Alexandria, a grand edifice rose, a testament to the unity and diversity of the empire. The Pantheon of the People, as it was reverently called, was not just a temple but a symbol of the empire's ideological and theological plurality. Here, the gods of Egypt stood alongside the deities of Rome and Greece, in a majestic display of marble and gold, a pantheon where Isis was worshipped with the same fervor as Jupiter and Athena. The construction of the Pantheon was a project that had consumed Cleopatra and her Roman counterparts for years. It was designed to be a place where citizens from every corner of the empire could see their beliefs reflected and respected. The architecture was a blend of the classical Greek, the grandiose Roman, and the mystical Egyptian, with towering columns and obelisks reaching towards the heavens, inscribed with prayers in 3 tongues. The cultural implications of the Pantheon were profound. It became a focal point for festivals and ceremonies that combined elements from all 3 civilizations. The Feast of the Nile was celebrated with Roman games, and the Ides of March were observed with Egyptian rites of rebirth. The empire's subjects, whether they hailed from the bustling streets of Rome, the scholarly enclaves of Alexandria, or the far reaches of the provinces, felt a sense of belonging. The Pantheon was not just a house of gods, but a house of the people. Politically, the Pantheon served as a unifying force, a subtle yet powerful tool in Cleopatra's arsenal. It reinforced the legitimacy of the Triumvirate's rule and promoted loyalty among the diverse populace. The shared religious space fostered a sense of common identity, which eased tensions that might have otherwise arisen from the empire's vast cultural mosaic. The military also found representation in the Pantheon. Mars and Horus, gods of war from Roman and Egyptian pantheons, were depicted joining forces in a grand fresco that adorned the central dome. This artistic masterpiece symbolized the might of the combined military forces, a reminder to both the soldiers and the citizens of the empire's martial strength and unity. The Pantheon of the people was not without its detractors, however. Traditionalists in Rome, Alexandria, and beyond sometimes bristled at the mingling of their ancient customs. Yet, the sheer splendor of the Pantheon and the prosperity it represented won over many. The Triumvirate, ever astute, managed these tensions with a mix of patronage, diplomacy, and, when necessary, a subtle show of force. As the years passed, the Pantheon became the heart of the empire's public life. Philosophers debated beneath its porticos, priests offered oracles beside its altars, and citizens from all walks of life mingled in its shadow. The empire thrived as a melting pot of ideas and beliefs, with the Pantheon as its spiritual and cultural nexus. In this chapter of history, the Pantheon of the people stood as a beacon of the empire's enlightened rule. It was a bold declaration that the Greco-Roman-Egyptian Empire was not just a political entity, but a civilization that transcended the sum of its parts. The Pantheon was a promise of unity in diversity, a legacy of Cleopatra's vision that would echo through the ages, inspiring future generations to look beyond their differences and find strength in their shared humanity. In the twilight of an age, where the sands of the desert met the cobblestones of ancient cities, there emerged a civilization unlike any the world had ever seen. The Greco-Roman-Egyptian Empire, a tapestry woven from the threads of 3 distinct cultures, stood as a beacon of human achievement. It was an era of enlightenment, where the wisdom of the Greeks, the order of the Romans, and the mysteries of the Egyptians merged into a symphony of progress and beauty. Imagine, if you will, a world where the philosophers of Athens walked the halls of the great library of Alexandria, their debates and discourses mingling with the knowledge of the ancients. Picture the Roman engineers, their hands guided by Egyptian mathematicians, as they raised aqueducts that not only spanned valleys, but also bridged the gap between practicality and artistry. Visualize the artists, their palettes a blend of Mediterranean blues and Nile greens, creating masterpieces that celebrated the human form and the gods above in equal measure. This was a time when the human spirit soared, unshackled by the constraints of tradition, driven by the winds of curiosity and the sails of imagination. The empire's cities were marvels of urban planning, with grand boulevards lined by statues of deities and heroes, past and present. Theaters and amphitheaters echoed with the works of playwrights who dared to question the gods and explore the depths of the human condition. But what of the divine in this new world? The temples were as diverse as the people who prayed within them. A new religion was taking shape, a pantheon where Jupiter might share a feast with Osiris, and Athena could impart wisdom to scribes alongside Thoth. This spiritual melting pot brought about a unity that transcended borders, as citizens found common ground in the shared tales of gods and men. Yet, with unity came the seeds of discord. For every heart that embraced the new ways, there was one that clung to the old. Temples to the pure forms of the old gods still stood, their priests and followers wary of the blended worship that flourished around them. The empire was a crucible, and within it, the fires of faith burned bright, sometimes illuminating the path forward, other times casting long shadows of doubt. But let us not dwell on the strife, for the echoes of this empire are not of battles fought over the gods, but of the lives touched by their stories. The shared myths became the bedrock of a society that valued the collective journey over the solitary path. Festivals and holy days became occasions for unity, where the stories of the gods were celebrated with plays, songs, and processions that wound through streets adorned with the banners of 100 cities. And what of the legacy of this empire? Did the unity last, or did it fracture under the weight of its own ambition? The answer lies not in the stones of the temples or the pages of the history books, but in the hearts of those who lived through it. For they were the true architects of this civilization, the common folk who found themselves part of a grand experiment in human coexistence. As the sun sets on our tale, we are left to ponder the might-have-beens and the echoes of an empire that straddled the known world. We wonder at the advancements in science, the soaring arches of the architecture, and the society that could have been. We are left with questions, the answers to which are as fleeting as the desert mirage. What could we learn from such a civilization? How might our world be different if the ideals of unity and diversity had prevailed? Could we, in our time, dare to dream as boldly as the citizens of that empire did? The echoes of this imagined empire resonate through time, a reminder that the greatest achievements of humanity come not from the conquest of lands, but from the conquest of minds and hearts. It is a story of what could have been, a dream of an empire where the best of cultures came together to create something greater than themselves, a dream that perhaps is not so far from our reach.